Okay, so let's get into you have to be willing to suck. And this is an addition to the course curriculum because after talking to people, I've realised that everyone, and myself included, we're scared to be bad. We have this mental blocker where it's the worst thing in the world to get a small piece of feedback that maybe we're not doing things as well as we should be. When in reality, this is just how the game goes. And so I've got a quote here from it's the film Layer Cake, and Michael Gambon basically says, well, not basically, this is verbatim what he says. You're born, you take shit. You get out into the world, you take more shit. You climb a little bit higher, you take less shit. Till one day, you're up in the rarefied atmosphere and you've forgotten what shit even looks like. And honestly, this is what the game of web design in general is all about. And it's how my journey has gone with Squarespace. At first, I had so many shit clients. So I was born, aka I started, and I took so much shit. Just really, really poor clients who didn't respect boundaries, who had no budget but expected the world, all of this. But eventually you wrangle these clients, you get good feedback, and it's basically training. That's what it is. It's training for better clients by going through these shit shows. Then you get out into the world, after your first maybe 3 to 6 months, and you take more shit. You have clients with higher budgets, or slightly higher budgets, but then they expect even more, and they want to try and call your phone, and they email you every day. Okay, this isn't every client, but this is the shit that you're going to have to take. Then you climb a little bit higher. So this is when you get to, let's say, a £2,000 or a $2,000 project or $3,000 project. And you take less shit because once you get to this level, clients start to see you as the expert because of the rate that you charge, and you can start to lead the project. You can say, this is how we're going to do it. This is what I think works best. You can push back and you can make sure the client respects your boundaries. So you don't just ring me on the phone. You book in for a call and we do a video call. Simple. And then one day, and this sort of happens without even knowing it, you end up in the rarefied atmosphere. So you end up where sort of I am now, where you can charge 10, 15, 20k for the website and then just look at the clients and go, well, that's the price. You're detached from getting the project. You detach your self-worth from the project, and you forget what shit even looks like. So when I say that, what I'm saying is you forget all about, or you will never experience again, those terrible projects when you were just starting out. And I'll get into this a little bit deeper in the module, but it's so important to think this way, that, okay, I may have a shit project now, but eventually you're going to get to the point where shit projects are super, super rare. Super rare. You still get them, and I'll come on to that, but they're much less frequent. And when you get into we'll call it the rarefied atmosphere, you don't have to take these projects. If you get a bad feeling about a project, you can just leave it. Once you get to a certain level, you're not coming from the angle of desperation. You have enough work. You have too much work. And I promise you that level does come. And just on a tangent, I had a client a few months ago, and basically she wanted the website and paid me 3k up front. It was a 6k project, and she was like, I want it this way. And so I did it that way, but she didn't like it. So I went back to the drawing board and done it again, and she didn't like that. And I thought to myself, okay, this is a nightmare project. Whatever I do, it's not going to be right. And so I said, okay, let's go our separate ways. We'll keep it civil. Here is all of your deposit back. I'm not even taking any money for my time. And okay, in terms of valuing your time, maybe that's not the greatest, but I can step away because I have 10 other projects going on. I can step away and say, okay, I want to keep my reputation intact. If I was to say, okay, I'm taking $1,000 because I built out tons of content, then that would really, really annoy her. and she may tell other people about such a bad experience, even though the work was really good, in my opinion. She will remember the bad parts. Well, she didn't even like the website, but she'll remember the bad part of, oh, he stole my money because, he took the deposit and wouldn't give me all of it back. So I was like, I don't want any of that. This is the level that you can get to where you're detached from being desperate for money and desperate for work, because you get to the point where you have too much. So all of that to say, you have to be willing to be shit and eat shit and take more shit until you forget what shit even fucking looks like. So first point, well, that was the first point, but next point, the first 18 months are going to be the hardest. So I remember the first 18 months I was doing projects for free, and then I was doing them for like £100 at the time, so maybe like $150 for like a 4-page website. And then I did that for a long time. And I remember I got a client on Upwork for I think $700, and I was like, okay. And I worked so hard. There was about 4 or 5 different stakeholders, and it was constant back and forth. It was really, really stressful. It was like the hardest money I've ever earned in my entire life. And at the end, the guy tipped me £50. So I'm going to stop doing the conversions. It was just £50. You do the conversion. But he tipped me, and I was like, whoa, like, this is amazing. I'm taking less shit. So, this was maybe 6 months in. But basically, the first 18 months of anything are going to be the hardest, because not only are you learning the platform and how to get better at the platform, you're learning how to sort of wrangle clients. You're learning, okay, this is how I deal with a client. This is how I take feedback. This is how I implement feedback. This is how I do the handover. And you're discovering all of these things. Now, luckily in this course, that's cut right down, because I just say, do this, and you'll succeed. So realistically for you guys, it's probably going to look like 6 months, if you're right at the start. Or if you're already a designer, but you are completely revamping the way you do things because you've come into the course and you go, oh shit, I need to completely do a 180 on the way that I'm doing things. It will take about 6 months. But you've just got to go back to this quote. You're going to have to take some shit. Don't be discouraged, because if a person has one bad project, the vast majority of people are going to doubt themselves first off, and then they're going to doubt whether this is the path for them. They're going to be like, okay, I've landed a $500 project as my very first project, which is amazing, but do I want this stress? And the truth is, the most stressful projects come right at the start. And so if you can ride out this wave, you automatically put yourself ahead of probably 60-70% of people, because they will quit at the first difficult hurdle. And this isn't just for beginners. This is for anyone who is coming into this course, because you're going to start doing things differently. That is just a given. You may come into this course and you may do websites and branding and social media, but after learning all my lessons, you go, oh, actually, I need to focus on one. I need to go all in on Squarespace. Okay, that means I need to change my process. That means I need to change the way that I deal with clients. It's going to be difficult. But if you're willing to suck for just a little bit, then you put yourself ahead of most people, and therefore you give yourself the best platform to charge way more, and you make future you. So let's say you in a year's time, you're just being a servant to that person, and you'll look back in a year and go, I am so thankful that I put all of that effort and groundwork in, and I ate all that shit, because now I'm in the rarefied atmosphere. I'm charging 3, 4, 5k per website. I'm using client stacking, which we'll come on to, and I'm doing 20k a month. So if you can just eat the initial shit, we'll get to the rarefied atmosphere. Hopefully that makes sense. And just a bit of, I guess, what would you call it? Expectation management. You'll always have bad projects. Sometimes there are just some bad eggs. So the example that I gave about the photographer, these things, they come around, and that's okay, because, you can eventually just say, I don't want to deal with this. Here's a refund. We're done. Simple. But the great news is these get less and less and less frequent. In your first year or two, well, for you guys, as I've established, it should be like 6 months, but in that first initial period, you're probably every 10 projects, you're going to have like 3 or 4 difficult ones, which is fine. You just have to look at this as practice, and really, really good practice. I learned the most I've ever learned about Squarespace in the first few months. Even small things, like a client said to me, why is that image got a grey overlay on? And I didn't even notice, because I had no idea how to even use Squarespace. So they said to me, why has that got a grey overlay on? And I was like, I don't know. But I said to the client, there must be something up with Squarespace. I'll check, because I didn't know. So I went and I checked, and I didn't realise this is on the classic editor of Squarespace before they brought out Fluid Engine. They'd put like colour overlays on images by default, and you had to turn it down in the settings. I didn't know this, and there were literally 200, 300, 400 things that I didn't know, and then I had to pick up along the way. This is what I mean. You have to learn everything as you're going along. So that's why you end up hitting bad projects, because you don't know things, and you don't know that you don't know things. So that is going to slow projects down, and it's going to be difficult. And those with lower budgets are going to cause you bigger headaches. So ideally, what you want to be doing after those first 6 months is getting 3K plus websites. That is the level where you take less shit, basically. But that said, as I gave in the example, sometimes you do have bad websites, and that's fine. We all get them. It's not a reflection on you or your character or your skill. Sometimes there's just a rotten egg amongst the bunch? I don't know. A shit client, basically. And that's okay. And this is a really, really important distinction to make. So it's okay not to be the best, because you probably never will. I am still not a great coder. I know how to do some CSS. I don't know how to write animations in CSS. I don't know loads about CSS, to be honest. I'm completely self-taught, and I still don't know JavaScript or HTML. I just get code from online and I paste it in. So I'm nowhere near the best Squarespace designer in the world, but the websites that I produce are great, because I can reverse engineer other people's code, which we come onto in the course. I know how to put blocks together to make them look nice, and I know how to position myself as an expert, because obviously I am good, but I'm not the best. There are tons of better Squarespace designers, but what I do know is how to talk to clients, where to find them, how to close them. I know basically how to make money with Squarespace, and that is all you need to know. If you know how to position yourself, where to find work, how to close work, how to build rapport with clients, and the process to actually send them a proposal, get them to pay, manage the project, then it doesn't matter that you're not the best. As long as you're good, which you will become eventually if you're not already, as long as you have all those processes in place, it doesn't matter. So just because there are other amazing coders out there doesn't mean that you can't make more money than them. I guarantee the people making the most money with Squarespace aren't the best. I guarantee, because creativity and business, I call it business acumen, they are not one and the same. In fact, they're polar opposites, realistically. One is like analytical, the other is creative. So those who can be good enough with creativity and solid with business, which this course literally gives you everything. If you can do both of them, there's no reason why you can't be doing 10k a month in 6 months. There's no reason why you can't be doing 25k in 12 to 24 months. So that's that point. It's okay not to be the best because it doesn't matter. None of us are going to be the best. But if you can make an income that changes your life, then what does it matter if you're not the best? But to get to being good enough, you need to take active steps to become better, or you'll become stuck in the shit cycle. So if we go back to that quote at the beginning, you're born, you take shit. You will go from you're born, you take shit, out into the world and you'll take more shit. And then you'll be reborn and you'll take shit. And then you'll go out into the world and take more shit. This is the most times that I've said shit in my entire life. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is you'll become stuck in this cycle if you have no desire to be better because you think that I'm good enough, clients should just trust what I say. Then you'll never get to a point where you are deserving of high value projects because you have an ego as big as the moon, let's say. Big as the moon. If your ego is that big that you think you don't need to improve, then obviously you'll never improve, but you'll also stagnate, and other people who've dropped their ego will overtake you. And then when a client comes and compares you versus someone who has no ego, who's been taking feedback and iterating for a year on ship projects, and they look, okay, this is the standard of this person's design, you, who hasn't improved at all, and this is the standard of this person's design, who every single project has taken feedback on board and iterated and become a better designer. Prices are the same. Who are they going to go with? Obviously, they're going to go with the person who's been better in themselves. It's 101. And it brings me on to my next point, I think. Let me go through quickly. Oh, no, it's not. Thought I had another point. Well, doesn't matter. The other point is iteration is the secret. So what I mean, well, we've got a seminar on this, the art of iteration. But basically what this means is you need to take feedback constantly. In fact, I think I do have a point on it here. Absorb tough feedback, I do. But anyway, to preface this, you need to be able to take feedback and immediately action it. Because money loves speed. Again, we've got a seminar on this. But money loves speed. So if you can take feedback and then action it straight away, then you get another bit of feedback and you action that straight away. Almost instantly, you've gone up 1%, 2% as a designer. Realistically, per month, you're going to be taking on board 100 mini points of feedback. So there's a chance, if the feedback is good enough, obviously not all feedback is good, but there's a chance that you could go up by a 100% as a designer. Imagine people putting on a plate the things that would make you a better designer and you not taking it. Imagine that. Your literal clients, the people who pay you money, will give you instructions on how to be better. And they'll do that and they'll pay you. They're like coaches who pay you. How crazy is that? So, as an example, you will have a client who says, okay, I like the way you've set this out. But underneath where we have, like, let's say the about section, there is a discrepancy between the spacing at the top and the spacing at the bottom. I think we should always have the correct spacing at the top and bottom. That's a tiny, tiny bit of feedback. But for every single website that you do from then till the end of your career, you'll know, actually, yeah, in sections, the padding at the top and the padding at the bottom should always be equal. And then you can take that, you're 1% better. And then that makes your designs for other clients and this website, it can make it 10% better because everything flows better. And then you build another better site and another better site until you're building the most amazing sites the world has ever seen. Iteration snowballs. And so all of these little bits of feedback, if you can iterate and do it straight away, then you're on to an absolute winner. Now, I'm going to give you some actual actionable points. So I think there's 7 here. To actually become a better designer and escape the shit cycle, first off, utilize free code. You don't have to know how to code. You just need to know where good code is. So Will Myers is a great example. Rach from Square Stylist, amazing. you've got ghost plugins, and a ton more. I'll link them down below. But basically, these codes all exist for free. So you don't even need to write them. You just need to Google what you want, find it for free, and then insert it into your website. It's that easy. And just being able to access this code automatically makes your designs 50% better. So think of all these aggregational gains that you're getting across the board. It's mind-bogglingly easy. Then we've got number 2. So I've basically just gone over that, but absorb tough feedback. Sometimes you're going to get feedback from a client that makes you want to cry. It's just going to be really nasty. So let's say you designed a really, really cool homepage and the client says, I hate this. You've used the wrong colours, you've used the wrong fonts, and the spacing is all over the show. Okay, let's digest that. What's the client saying? They're saying there's been a miscommunication whereby you should have had the right colours and the right fonts. So, okay, well, what did I miss? How have we got to this point where I know that I should have used red and I've used orange? Where did I get those colours from? Where did I get the fonts from? And then you retrace your steps and you go, okay, I should have been clearer on my onboard form. We shouldn't have verbally agreed colours because maybe it got lost in translation. What I should have done was set up a content hub where the clients could drop all of their images and video and copy and brand assets. So that would have like a colour scheme and a logo and a font pack. That way, I have everything there. I can take it and put it into the site, and there's no back and forth. There's no verbal exchange where things may get lost. Okay, that's what I need to do. It was horrible feedback, but now in the next project, I have my process nailed, and that's how I came up with my process, is by taking tough feedback like this and implementing it. And we've got all of this in the course, so we'll come on to all of this with process and how to set up the hub and all of the templates that you need. But basically, any sort of feedback like this, yes, it may make you want to cry, but it's super valuable for becoming a way better web designer. And if we're doing percentage gains, let's say making your process better, probably an extra 30-40%. So already we're at 80%. Keep a code log. So every bit of free code that I pick up online, I'll paste into a code library. Again, I'll come on to this. We've got the code library template a little bit further on. But basically, I just collect all the code in a document and I can search it. Okay, I want to make the navigation shrink on scroll. So I'll just search for it, Control F, search, and obviously I title everything. And then I find it, copy, paste into the website. I don't have to go into Google and find it every single time. So that's a really useful source. I can't be bothered doing the percentage gains. Let's just say if you did all 7 of these, you'll be 10 times better. So iterate constantly. We've been over this. Iteration is the secret sauce. If you can imagine every single day you got 0.5% better, at the end of the year, that's what's half of 365? I'll just say 160 something. Anyway, 100 I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to make myself look stupid. But it's a lot. It's almost double the designer you are. So iterate and do it every single day. It could be the tiniest, most infinitesimal thing. And yet, at the end of the year, you're going to be nigh on 200% better. Imagine that. So always absorb tough feedback and then iterate constantly. This is another one. So obviously it's another one, but you know what I mean. So ask, and then ask some more. I've already had a go at big egos, because if you are so big-headed that you think, well, I don't need to get any better, clients just need to pay me more, then you're stuck, and you'll be stuck in the shit cycle. So drop that ego now. When you have a problem, don't think that you're too big or too popular or too smart to ask. Go into the Facebook communities, go into the forums, go into Slack channels, wherever, and ask. Just ask. If you have a problem, ask, get the solution, And then someone else who has that problem will also get the solution. Get the solution, put it into your code log, and then boom, you can reference that. And that links to 6, help more than you ask. So if you have the answer and someone asks that in the future and on a new thread, go, well, here's the answer that I have. Here's what worked for me. And you should always try and help more than you ask because it builds goodwill. Again, we got a seminar on this, but building goodwill is going to net you so much more money than you could even think of, because building goodwill means that you're building your profile as an expert, and people will begin to see you as an expert. Even if you're asking tons of questions, if you help more, your visibility goes up amongst the community. The Squarespace team probably notice you more. You get better as a designer because, they say when you revise for like a test, if you can get to the point where you could teach someone about the topic, then you know everything because you understand the complex topic, but you can also break it down for a layperson. So if you can help people with issues that you used to have, then you're getting better. Does that make sense? And then number 7, communities are a cheat code. So think of our community. It's the amount of messages that I've had that say, Sam, the community's worth the money alone. Sam, the community is a game changer. I've learned so much from the community. All of this, and that's just one, that's just our private club. But then you've got the Squarespace community Facebook group, that's got almost 20,000 people. Then you've got loads of sub-communities with, 10, 5, a couple of thousand. They're amazing because you can ask, you can help, but then you can also build relationships with fellow designers who will continue to help you and who you can help. And I've said shit and help so many times, but these relationships, I did not value them that much until I went to Squarespace Circle Day this year, 2023 at the time of recording. And I realised, oh wow, there's an opportunity here to just make great friends. But these people in the Squarespace community in particular, they will go above and beyond to help you out in whatever way. So, if you are doing a workshop, I do a lot of workshops now, people will promote it for you. They'll give you ideas. They'll tell people about it. Everyone wants to help each other. They want to help each other grow in whatever way that they can. So go into communities and you will become such a better designer, and you'll become way more comfortable networking and talking to clients because you're used to talking within the Squarespace sphere, if that makes sense. And it will change the game. I promise you that. Get into all the Facebook communities, get into the forums, get into in-person meetups if you can, Slack communities. All of these places become known, become visible, become helpful, and that will change the game. So that is everything. Now, just to go back to the beginning, you have to be willing to suck. That is the main message. If your ego is so big that you think after one poor project that this just doesn't work or it's not for you, then you're going to be one of the 60 or 70% who drop out and never make good money. If you can get to the rarefied atmosphere, then you're set. You're set for life. You'll easily, at the very minimum, you'll be making 10k a month. Very minimum. And the actual competition just drops off. It drops off a cliff because no one will see it out for even 6 months. Usually it's 18, but with the course, it's going to be 6 to 12 maximum. So if you can go through the shit to the rarefied atmosphere, there's no competition, you'll be seen as an expert, and you'll change your life. So just stick with it.